97% of men in today's dating market are average, frustrated chumps. Fat, frameless, and clueless. The competition isn't some 6'5" giga chad. It's a chubby guy holding a fish pic, or it's a chubby guy holding a fish in his Tinder bio. And that's why dating has never been easier, if you know how to play the game.
We're going live, baby.
We'll do it live.
You're listening to the premier podcast for men who want to not only be better with women, but want to be better men in general. This is the Come On Man podcast. And here's your host,
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer. He is a certified master life coach and NLP practitioner.
Man, I screwed up that opening. I need more coffee this morning. You guys, you see a lot of guys online complaining about the 3 or 4 or 6s, depending on who you talk to. What are those, right? It's you got to have 6-pack abs, you got to be 6 foot tall, you got to make at least 6 figures, and you got to have at least bare minimum 6-inch schlong, right? That's the 3 or 4 6s. Otherwise, you are screwed out here on the dating circuit. You hear that all the time online. But the reason so many of these guys are complaining is because there are so many losers out there, right? So you only hear the losers complaining. And if 97% of guys out there are absolutely clueless when it comes to women, they are going to be screaming the loudest about why it's so unfair, bro, right? Well, when I first started studying this stuff, I read a book by a guy named Doc Love called The System. And he said that roughly 97% of men out there are clueless when it comes to women. Corey Wayne took that idea, turned it into his book, How to Be a 3% Man, and then rolled with it. And a lot of the stuff that Corey covers in How to Be a 3% Man came straight out of Doc Love's The System. If you know, you know. Now, when I was in the 3% man group, which is the men's group that this podcast came out of, we would refer to those guys, the guys that were striking out with women, that were struggling with women, that were frustrated with women as 97%ers. Well, if you ever read Rollo Tomasi's book, the Rational Male, he refers to these guys as AFCs, average frustrated chumps, right? And when you look at the prevalence of nice guy syndrome, the betatization of men in our society, it kind of makes sense, right? That constant pressure to not offend anyone, it's made a lot of dudes soft, okay? And because of that, you quickly realize that once you learn this stuff, once you learn intersexual dynamics, once you work on your money, muscles, game, and frame, you really don't have any competition. There's really not a whole lot of competition out there. Okay. Now, we are going to get into it in depth today, but before we do, if you are new to the channel, my name is Paul Bauer. I help men level up and get better with women. And the funny thing about doing that is it tends to make us better men in all areas of our lives. So let's just get right into it. Okay. Let's talk about the beta takeover, the rise of the beta, and why so many men at the top of hierarchies today are not true alphas. And what makes an alpha and a beta, right? Like a lot of people hate those terms. They love talking about the wolf study that shows that in wolf packs anyways, that it's really the hierarchy is a family dynamic. Okay. Who gives a crap? All right. You guys are nerds. Anyone that cites studies are nerds. In my opinion. Here's the thing. You can tell when a guy has that dominant masculine presence. You can almost feel it. It's almost palpable. But the thing is it's really subjective, and it comes down to the woman and how she feels and how a particular guy makes her feel. And alpha traits are the things that give her that excitement, that dopamine, that fun feeling. Okay. And that makes her, we're not at the 8-minute mark, sexually attracted to you. All right. And then beta traits give her that comfort feeling. It releases oxytocin. It makes her feel closer to you. And it's a kind and nurturing type behavior. And women actually do want both traits in men. That's ideal, right? But a lot of guys don't. And just to illustrate this, I'm reading, I'm just started reading Artiste on Game Volume 2. Accidentally hit the mute button there. I'm reading Artiste on Game Volume 2. And if you guys don't know who Artiste is, he used to go by Royce in DC. So if you ever see on social media me quoting a guy named Royce, I'm talking about this guy. And he's one of the original like 3 R's of the manosphere. You have Roosh V, you have Royce, and you have Rollo Tomasi, right? The 4th R is Ryan Stone, the world's greatest red pill couch. Anyway, the very first chapter in this is defining the alpha male. And I thought this was prevalent to what we're talking about today. So Royce says, I knew a guy who was alpha by most people's definition, an army soldier and lawyer by trade, built like granite. He was a fearsome warrior with a taste for fighting who could knock a man out with a punch that landed like a pile driver. He walked with purpose everywhere and immediately cowed men into deferring to him when in social situations. He had a taste for cruising his apartment butt naked, company or no company present. He was, according to my traumatized metrosexual roommate, hung like a Clydesdale. Despite his strong, manly presence, he misspent his alpha capital picking up a parade of bar skanks and fatties in nightclubs. I never saw him with any girl better than a 5. And pining for a lost ex-girlfriend, and by pining, I mean seeking out the new boyfriend of his ex to deliver a flurry of violent blows. I had another friend, a good-looking, successful businessman with a sharp wit and effortless charisma, who was always the center of attention in that very alpha way of not trying to be the center of attention. The girls in our social group we used to hang out with all told me how much they wanted to date him. And yet, in the couple years I knew this guy, I don't think he slept with more than 3 girls and never had a girlfriend. Some flaw in his character hobbled him from reaching his full potential. He eventually married a hot blonde, but for many years in his prime, he completely squandered his alpha capital in the only way that really matters. And he says, I mention these guys because they illustrate the confusion that arises when people attempt to categorize alpha and beta males. These two guys weren't perfectly alpha on paper. One had a beat up face and a half empty wallet. The other was emotionally vacant, but they had enough of the important alpha qualities that they could have done a lot better with women than they did. And yet, to an outside observer who didn't know about their troubles with women, they would be considered archetypical alpha males. Okay, so a lot of you guys out there are thinking that these super handsome guys, these tough guys with a dominant masculine presence in every other area of their life, you think that they're batting 1,000 with women, and they're not. They're not. A lot of these guys are still raised with that blue-pilled mentality. They're raised to be nice guys, and when it comes to women, they absolutely crumble. They absolutely crumble. Okay, and once you realize that even if you're in an area much larger than mine, because I live out in the cow pasture. When you live in a much larger area, and you do see a lot of guys that are in great shape, and maybe they are over 6 feet tall, bro, and whatever, you're like, oh man, that's my competition. It's like, yeah, but how good are they with women really? Okay, how good are they with women really? And that's really what it comes down to, okay? Because it's not just about looks, all right? There's a lot of things that go into this that make you better with women, all right? And so we're going to be talking a lot about that today. Guys, before we get too far into it, though, do be sure to like, subscribe, hit those notifications. I do have new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday without fail. Okay. And I'm on all the good platforms. I'm on YouTube. And if you prefer to listen to podcasts, especially longer podcasts, you can find me on iTunes and Spotify as well. So let's talk about the rise of the average frustrated chump. Okay. You got to understand that, like I said at the beginning, 97%. And this is, I mean, where's the statistics, bro? I want to know the statistics. Where'd you get that number? 97%. All right, I got it from, like I said at the beginning, I got it from Doc Love's book, The System, okay? And he estimated that about 97% of guys out there suck with women. And you can just see it. You can see it with our divorce rates. You can see it with just guys online complaining about women. There's that documentary that was on Netflix last year, and it was all about the rise of incels. And they talked about how, you know, there's like 80% of dudes are incels now or something. And there's so many guys, there's all these numbers out there about guys who have never had sex and they're in their 30s, and how that rate is rising and how it's very disturbing and all this kind of stuff, right? When you realize that, and then you hear guys complaining online and talking about MGTOW and the juice isn't worth the squeeze, it just reinforces the idea that, yeah, I think Doc Love and Corey Wayne might be right. I think there's probably 97% of dudes are average frustrated chumps. You know, they say 80% of dudes are completely invisible to women. And but that's because all these guys, they lack game, frame, and purpose in life. Okay. And so once you realize that and you're like, oh, okay, let me work on my money, muscles, game, and frame, and get in a little bit of better shape and stuff like that. Like I'm going to be able to compete. I'm going to be able to compete, and not only compete, I'm going to be able to fucking win. Okay. We got a brother in Wolfpack right now, Brother Omega. I don't know if he's in the chat. I haven't looked at the chat yet. Brother Omega is absolutely killing it on the dating circuit. And if you looked at Omega a year ago, or I don't know how long he's been in the group, 2 years now. When you first met him, you were like, this guy's striking out with women left and right. And he's constantly, just like, you know, a year or two later in the Wolfpack, he's posting date updates where he's getting laid constantly. He just posted one the other day. He's like, oh, this plate that I was spinning a couple of years ago reached out to me. I invited her over. We had indoor Olympics, and now I'm off to the gym. Right? Like that. It's like, Omega? Like, what? You know what I mean? But we know him now, and we're like, oh yeah, Omega's a total pimp, right? But he wasn't a year ago until he learned the skills. Okay. By the way, guys, I have a free ebook. If you guys are getting over a breakup, and you're struggling on the dating circuit, and you're starting to look at your ex like she's low-hanging fruit, and maybe you want her back, I'll show you how to get her back. Okay. There's a proven method of getting your ex back. I lay it all out here in this ebook, but I also explain why that's a terrible idea. Okay. So get the ebook. I'll show you how to get her back. I'll show you how to reattract her, but I'll also explain why that's the worst idea possible. Okay. It's the first link in the description, or if you go to ebook.getoveryourx.us, you can get it there. So let's talk about fat equals failure. Okay. So if you ever read Rollo's book, right? So I just mentioned Royce. If you ever read Rollo's book, The Player's Handbook, it's a phenomenal book. It's probably one of my favorite books that Rollo's written. He estimates that 75% of men are overweight or obese nowadays. Okay. So if that's true, and if you just go around and look around, it's pretty accurate. Now, in my area, in the cow pasture, out here in the cow pasture, there's a lot of corn-fed white boys out here. Okay, there's a lot of corn-fed white boys out here, and it makes sense because we live out here by Olathe, Colorado. The world's best sweet corn comes from Olathe, and so there's a lot of corn-fed white boys out here that are obese, overweight, and so just not being fat automatically puts me in the top 25% of dudes out here. Okay. And it's fascinating to watch. One of the things I learned from Dr. Robert Glover in his book, Dating Essentials for Men, was the idea of setting up a dating profile, but as a woman, so that you can see what your competition looks like. Right. And just go out there and look at the other guys on dating apps in your area and you'll realize there's really no competition. And for me, a lot of that is just because there's a lot of overweight, chubby guys with fish pics, right? That's why I always joke, and I just put it out on a meme yesterday, and I put it out when I was promoting the show yesterday, that your competition isn't some 6'5" Giga Chad Adonis. All right. It's a 5'8" chubby guy with fish pics in his bio. Okay. That's your competition. And whenever I tell guys on social media, hey, putting fish pics in your bio does not help you on the dating circuit. You're better off not having fish pics in your bio. Guys lose their mind. They will fight tooth and claw to put fish pics in their bio. I want that fish pic. It shows women that I'm a hunter and a gatherer and I can get food in an emergency. Like, that's not how women think nowadays, guys. They're not looking for a hunter-gatherer type. Okay. We live in modern society. We have grocery stores. Women aren't thinking about that kind of shit. All right. They might have during COVID for a hot second when they were looking for a warlord, and they thought that we're going into Armageddon, but we didn't. It was the whole COVID lockdown thing was one big nothing burger. Right. And so, yeah, women are back to living their normal life, and they're like, holding fish is not sexy to them, for most women. Okay. So that's your competition. It's guys who are absolutely clueless and they're fighting tooth and nail to stay clueless. Okay. That's your competition out there. Okay. By the way, speaking of chubby fat guys with fish pics, have any of you let yourself get out of shape, been out dating, and then got back into shape and noticed a significant difference? Okay. Let me know in the chat or the comments if you've ever experienced this, because once you experience this, it'll blow your fucking mind. All right. Because that's how I was when I got divorced back in 2014. And I talk about this a lot. Whenever I'm a guest on a podcast, people usually ask me my Batman origin story. And I always tell them that when I first got divorced, I floundered for like 11 months on the dating circuit. Didn't have a fucking clue. Okay. I had been out of practice dating for like 15 years at that point. I was waiting for written invitations from women, and women don't do that. Women are very subtle. And I just did not know what the fuck I was doing. Right. And then after Red Pill Chick, because I got back into shape while I was dating Red Pill Chick, because I was just sick of how I looked in the mirror. I was just really annoyed by how I looked in the mirror. And I made a promise to myself back in 2016 that I would never get that heavy again. And so since then I haven't. I've gained weight. I've lost weight since then, but I've always stayed within the boundaries that I've set for myself. Right. And I've always worked out. I work out Monday through Friday, no matter what. I haven't stopped that since 2016. Even if like it's just going for a walk, I still go out and do something. Right. And so I've done that since 2016. Now, sometimes my diet goes to shit. that's what gets me in trouble. But usually I might keep my diet in check too. And when I got done, when I broke up with Red Pill Chick and I found myself on the dating circuit that time, I was 50 pounds lighter and it was easy to get dates. It was like shooting fish in a barrel. I just couldn't keep these chicks around longer than 2 or 3 dates because I was being too needy and I was pushing for a relationship and I had the sniper dating mentality. Right. And so once I broke myself of that bad habit, I was able to spin plates. I was able to keep chicks around. I was able to keep a rotation going. It was a totally different experience. And a lot of that was because I lost all the weight. Right. So if Rollo's right, and like 70 to 75% of dudes out there are obese or overweight, then just not being fat puts you in the top 25% of guys. Okay. Top 25% of guys. Now, let's talk about why frame is everything. Okay. So going back to what Royce was talking about here, he had a couple of guys who on paper, most guys would be like, yeah, these guys are alphas, right? These are alpha males. They probably clean up on the dating circuit, but they all sucked with chicks. And a lot of that for a vast majority of guys is they have no frame. They have no frame. Okay. Most men totally bend to women's frame. And God, I was on a MLD show a couple months ago. right? And MLD was talking about how, especially in the West, women just have much stronger frame than men out here in the West, but we're raised that way, right? We're raised in this gynocentric social order where women are taught to be boss babes and you go queen and you deserve this and all this kind of stuff, and men, we're told how terrible we are and how the patriarchy and toxic masculinity, and we're all just told that being a man in general is bad, right? And so we're raised with this paradigm of putting women on pedestals, deferring to women, trying to make them happy all the time. And so we are almost all operating in women's frame constantly. But the guys who are really good with women have very strong, solid frame. They're able to set boundaries. They hold frame, and women love those guys because they are able to relax into their feminine and enter that man's frame and feel safe and secure. Okay. But most guys just lack any kind of frame. They're very emotional. They might not be crying all the time, but they're definitely like, they get pissed off at the drop of a hat. They're always angry. Do you know a guy who's got anger problems? A guy who just every little thing sets him off. Every little thing he gets offended by and he wants to fight. I used to be that guy. If you ever talk to my ex-wife, she'll tell you, Paul's got anger issues. And she wasn't wrong. I did have anger issues in our marriage, and I would always blame it on her. Well, she's the one that pushes my buttons and stuff like that. But if you have strong mental frame, nobody can push your buttons. People push your buttons because you let them push your buttons. Okay. It's up here, the meaning you put behind things. Okay. Otherwise, like what they're doing, if you look at them like they're the goofy goofballs that they are. And if you look at women like they're the most responsible teenager in the house, you don't take them so damn seriously. There's a reason why I put out a lot of like misogynistic memes out there. Is it because I'm a misogynist? That's why. No, because when you do adopt a little bit of misogyny and you stop taking women so seriously, you actually get better with women. You actually get better with women because you maintain frame and you don't enter their frame. Okay. And so if you always look at them like they're goofy bastards and whatever, like you actually get better with them. They like you better. It's really funny. Now, they might not like my memes and they might not like the overt nature of that kind of stuff, but in person, me not taking them so seriously, they love the shit out of it. They don't know that they're playing the game, right? Let's talk about why nice guys lose. We talked about some of this stuff, right? But nice guys, a big problem that they have is supplication, pedestalizing, and they think they're being different, right? They think, oh, well, if all these women are going for jerks and women are complaining that they're going for jerks all the time and they're complaining that all their exes are narcissists, well, I'm going to be different. I'm going to be nice. Okay. Well, guess what? 97% of the dudes out there are thinking that they're being different by being nice. And the truth is that they're being like 97% of the other schmucks out there. And there's a reason why women say that my ex was a narcissist, my ex was a jerk and stuff, because they're telling you exactly who they go for. Think about that for a minute. They're telling you exactly who they go for. Now, I'm not saying you have to be a jerk. I'm not saying you have to be a narcissist. But if you understand women, you do understand that women do tend to be attracted to guys with dark triad traits. What are dark triad traits? Dark triad traits are a mix of narcissism, psychopathy, and Machiavellianism. Okay. If you have those traits, now I'm not saying you're clinically a narcissist, you're clinically a sociopath, right? But if you have some of those traits, and a lot of those are selfishness, a lot of those are assertiveness, that kind of stuff, women like those traits because those guys, they can't get their way with those guys. So women do tend to go for actual jerks and assholes because a lot of time women mistake that for having a dominant masculine presence. And really these guys end up being control freaks and controlling, and they get turned off. And then they're like, oh, this guy was abusive or whatever. Like you don't have to You don't have to go that far, right? But you can't fall into her frame, and you do have to be able to set boundaries and be assertive and be decisive and all those types of qualities that they do find attractive, and that a lot of guys that are narcissists, that are sociopaths and stuff like that, they embody, right? Those guys just take it to a whole other level. There's a reason why not every woman is a hybristophile, but only women are hybristophiles. And what's a hybristophile? A hybristophile is someone who's attracted to criminals, right? Women, this is why when you see like the Jeffrey Dahmer movie, and like all these women are now obsessed over Jeffrey Dahmer, and it's like, stuff like that. There's a reason why Ted Bundy was able to attack all these women. It's just, it's that sociopathic mindset and how they come across. Women are attracted to that sort of thing. There's all these women that are married to dudes in prison, right? It's just because that's what they're attracted to, those dark triad traits. Okay. And a lot of nice guys are like, well, I'm going to treat her like my mom told me to treat women, right? Because my mom told me my dad was a jerk and I never want to be like my dad, right? And that's nice guy syndrome, right? So they're trying to be different, but in reality, they're being like 97% of the other guys out there, and they're getting frustrated with women. And like, why do women go for this type of thing? Why don't they go for nice guys like me? Well, they just fucking don't. Okay. So do you want to win? Do you want to win, or do you want to bitch about it? Okay. If you're just going to bitch about it, then, keep doing it. And that's more for me and my boys out here that are playing the game. Okay. By the way, guys, if you get value out of any of these episodes, do consider sending a super chat. That probably supports the show more than anything else. I think starting next week, I'm going to reserve the titty and the ass video for like much higher super chats. And because it is a pain in the ass to go back 24 hours later and cut it out. But it always gets me demonetized. And so it needs to be worth my while to put that video out there. Okay. But I do have a lot of good sound bites that don't get me demonetized. So if you do send super chats, you're going to get a cool sound bite at least. So that's going to start next week. So Wolfpack Brothers, if you want to still get the cheap ass and titty videos, send super chats now, because you guys still get that bump up for the rest of the week. Okay. All right. Let's talk about incels as failed average frustrated chumps. Okay. Now, there's some guys out there from frustration to resentment. They got burned one time. They've been rejected too many times, or hell, they haven't even tried. They're just so afraid of rejection that they've decided to just give up. A lot of those guys end up in like incel groups, and I'm talking about self-proclaimed incels. I'm not talking about, angry white women that don't like red pill content, just calling people incels randomly. Like, you don't even know what that means. Okay. Like incel stands for involuntarily celibate. That means like, no matter how they try, how much they try, they just can't get laid. Right now, there are guys out there with genuine disabilities. Maybe they have some kind of physical disability. Maybe they have some kind of mental disability. And those guys probably aren't going to be able to attract women. Okay. And it's no fault of their own. They just have a disability that most women are just not going to go for. Right. That's unfortunate. But a vast majority of guys that find themselves in the incel communities or the black pill communities or the MGTOW communities, they don't belong there. They don't belong there at all. They've just gotten so frustrated because they refuse to either play the game, or they just don't understand that there's a game to be played. And when there's a game, there's rules. Okay. And if you learn the rules to the game, you can play the game and win. And these guys are just giving up on that stuff. Right. So a vast majority of those self-proclaimed incels are guys that they just checked out completely. Okay. So if you want to, those guys are a part of that 97%. Those guys are a part of that 97%. So those guys opting out automatically reduces the competition that you have on the dating circuit, which they're not very much competition anyway, right? They're not very much competition anyway, but they've given up. So they're not competition at all. And so with all these guys giving up on women because, for whatever reason, a lot of the black pill guys, it's because they finally have understood the red pill reality of women, and they're mad at women for that. Instead of going, okay, well, how can I use this to my advantage? How can I win? Right? Because winners find a way to win. These guys are like, oh, wait a minute. It's not a Disney fairy tale after all. Women don't love me unconditionally. Well, then why even fucking bother? Right? And so they totally give up and quit instead of trying to figure out how to win. Okay. And I strongly encourage you guys out there not to be quitters. Nobody likes a quitter. Nobody likes a guy who takes his ball and goes home. And a lot of these guys are they'll spin it to, well, I'm going my own way. I'm taking myself out of the dating circuit, and these women, they're going to suffer for it. Women ain't suffering, bro. Women are going to get theirs. They're going to get theirs. There's always going to be some guy out there to bail these women out. There's a really good sidebar, I think it's in the Married Red Pill, or it might have been in the actual Red Pill sidebar, called Michael's Story. And it's all about how there's always going to be some dude that's going to bail these women out. Women aren't going to lose. They don't give a shit that you've taken your ball and gone home. In fact, they're going to point their finger, laugh at you, and then bang some other guy. Okay, they're going to bang my man Omega out there, who's just like, I'm not a quitter. I'm going to lose some weight. I'm going to learn some game, and I'm going to clean up some pussy in my area. And where's he at? He's where are you at, Omega? You were in Minnesota or something like that. It's cold out there. These women are looking for guys to warm up with in the wintertime. And Omega's like, I got you, girl. I got you, girl. And these other guys are online complaining about all that kind of shit. One of the things I see constantly, there's a incel.co account on X. And whoever runs that account, I think they're the moderators of incel.co, which I think is an incel dedicated forum for complainers and crybabies, right? Well, these guys are always posting on X. They're always going viral. And they're always posting stuff like, it'll be like a real hot girl and a real mid girl next to each other. And he goes, once you realize that these two women are going for the same guy, then you'll understand, And I'm like, how about instead of bitching and complaining online, you figure out how to be that guy that both these chicks are going for, so that you're choosing. Like, you ever think about that? Or are you just going to bitch and complain online? Okay. That's your competition. Just guys that are frustrated and bitching and complaining online. Okay. That's your competition. It's not some 6'5" fucking Giga Chad. It's fucking losers. Okay. All right, guys, by the way, follow me. Speaking of X, follow me on social media. The links are in the description. I'm on all the good platforms. Okay. Unless you're on Facebook. On Facebook right now, you can't click the links in the description because Facebook won't let me have too many links in these live streams. You're just going to have to go to my profile, but you're already following me on Facebook. So there you have it. Another reason why the dating has never been easier is the feminization of men. Right? Society rewards compliance and emotional manipulability. Manipulability? Is that the right word? They like being able to control men. Okay. So society has pushed men to be soft, right? They push men to embrace their feminine side, right? And act more like women. And the only time, Rolo talks about this a lot, the only time masculinity is ever celebrated is when it's really femininity, right? Like when a guy cries, oh, look at how strong and powerful this guy is. He's able to cry. Okay. That you're acting like a woman when you're just crying and you're up in your emotions and you're being controlled by your emotions. You're acting like a woman. And a lot of you guys have no mental frame. You guys have no sense of emotional control. I'm not talking about emotional suppression. I'm talking about emotional control, realizing that there's like a time and a place for this kind of stuff. Okay. Your woman's not it, crying in front of a camera on TikTok's not it. All right. But, having a coach, having a therapist, having a good group of boys to go to, a strong men's circle, there's places for this stuff. Okay. But, acting like a woman in public is not it. But people are celebrated. Society celebrates this. And so the average frustrated Trump's like, oh yeah, I need to get in touch with my feminine side and be more emotionally vulnerable and all this kind of bullshit that actually turns women off. And the thing is that women are programmed with the same shit, right? They're programmed with the same bullshit information. So they think they want this stuff. Okay. But their evolutionary wiring just won't allow them to be attracted to that stuff. So when you act like society says you're supposed to, it actually turns women off, and women don't even know why. Right. If you talk to any woman out there, and AI clips this and I talk about don't cry in public and whatever. Some woman's going to see that and go, men are literally unaliving themselves because they can't express their emotions. And you're teaching men. It's like, but if this guy's crying, are you going to fuck him? Heather, are you going to fuck this guy for crying? Yeah, of course I will. I think him being vulnerable is sexy. No, you won't. No, you won't. You're just fucking lying. Stop it. Stop it. There's so many guys in this space who have had that emotional weakness. They have trusted their girl. They have cried in front of her, and she has left them. Because as soon as she realizes that you can't handle life's challenges and that you're emotionally weak in her eyes and you're crying, now she looks at you as weak. She can't feel safe and secure in the relationship. And now she's going to look for a much stronger guy. Okay. And that's just how it is. That's how they're wired. And you can get mad at them for it and quit and go be an incel, but more for me. Okay. More for me, brother. All right. The thing is that women naturally want leaders, not followers. Okay. And they need that polarity and masculine energy, and that polarity of being really entering your masculine, fully embracing that masculine energy. Okay. That creates attraction because it allows them to relax into their feminine and be their natural selves, their natural submissive selves. They want to be that. And you'll hear women even say it too. They're like, well, for the right guy, I would be like that. Well, what does that mean to them? What does that mean? Okay. That means that for the right guy, that means a guy who has that dominant masculine presence that can create that polarity in the relationship that naturally allows her to relax into her feminine so that she feels safe and secure and she's sexually attracted at the same time. Right? That's what that means. And you only do that when you develop that dominant masculine presence. You learn leadership skills, you learn assertiveness, you learn boundaries, all that kind of fun stuff. Be more decisive. By the way, guys, I've been having this up this whole time. I've been really pushing my dating course this whole month. You might have seen it on social media. If you go to dates.comeonmanpod.com, I show you how to stand out online, because 70% of relationships start out online these days. And most guys are complaining because they're like, dating apps are unfair and women are only going for the top 20% of guys on dating apps and whatever. And it's like, yeah, but have you ever thought about how to get in the top 20% of guys on dating apps? Okay. I've told you about half of this already, right? Just not being fat puts you in the top 25% of guys. So if you learn a little bit of game, a little bit of frame, you work on your money. Your money's for you though. It's not for them. You keep dates low investment. There's a method to the madness. Okay. It's not that dating apps suck. It's that most men suck at dating apps. But more importantly, I show you how to skip the dating apps and go right to women that you actually like in your area on Facebook and Instagram. And I'm not talking about Facebook dating. I'm talking about Facebook proper, right? Instagram proper. This even works on TikTok. Okay. The Instagram method is very similar to if you take the Instagram method and do it on TikTok, it's very similar, right? But you can clean up on social media and if you know how to play the game, if you do it right, right? Let me play a quick commercial for that, and then we'll get back to the topic today. 70% of relationships start online nowadays, but you're tired of being stuck in the dating app dead end. Swipe after swipe, and all you get is ghosted or worse, bot matches. The problem isn't you. It's that most dating apps are designed to favor the top 20% of guys. And if your profile isn't up to par, you're just another swipe left. The solution? No cold approach in the cow pasture. While the course may have a funny name, it will show you how to optimize your dating profile. It will show you how to take perfect photos and write bios that get you noticed. You'll also learn how to spot and avoid bots, catfish, and time wasters. I originally designed this course for
Guys who live in rural flyover country, where the opportunity to meet women organically in person just isn't possible, or your options are severely limited.
But this course will work for guys in big cities too. In fact, it'll work better for guys that live in big cities because you have way more options than guys that live out in rural areas. Wherever you are, No Cold Approach in the Cow Pasture will help you meet high quality women in your area. It will help you to close for more dates than you ever thought possible. Because not only do I teach you how to optimize your online dating profile on dating apps, the real secret sauce is I show you how to meet women on Facebook and Instagram and how to slide into their DMs using a virtual cold approach method using video messages. Ready to be a part of the top 20%? Don't miss your chance. Visit dates.comeonmanpod.com. That's dates.comeonmanpod.com to sign up now. I don't think the link's in the description, but it is in the chat. I just dropped it in the chat. But if you go to dates.comeonmanpod.com, you'll find it. Nurse Chick's in the house. She says, good morning, gentlemen. Happy hump day. It's funny this morning. So Nurse Chick is with me like all week now because she's moved to weekends while she's working on her nurse practitioner. And it's funny. I got all my TikToks ready because this is my morning routine. Is I get up, I drink coffee, I do my journaling, and then I come in here and I write up my scripts for my my short form TikToks and stuff for the day. And I make 5 a day. And I go outside my patio and I make them. And by the time I got up to go outside and make them, Nurse Chick was like feeding the cats and she's getting her coffee ready. And so she's like, stirring in a cup and it's ding, 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 ding. And I'm like, fuck, I can't do it because it's right by the window, right by the kitchen window. And so I get up and I go over by this tree and I'm trying to record the stuff over by this tree. And then all the fucking neighbors are getting ready to go to work. And so they're driving in their big fucking pickups and shit. And I'm like, God damn it. And then I go to record and a fucking donkey's out here, like, hee-hawing and shit. And then I'm like, God damn it. And then I'm recording and right in the middle of recording, a fucking bee comes up and starts flying. I'm like, God damn it. No one wants me to record these fucking TikToks. Anyway, that's my morning. Anyway, Nurse Chick gets this.
I'm so naughty.
She is naughty.
I'm going to come.
And I will. She plays her cards right. And then who else do we got here? We've got CW's in the house. Morning, gents and Nurse Chick. Ray Leyland. Good hump day all. Kamal says, for fun, I used to ask my dates how some of their recent dates had been. Man, the stories I heard. Awful. Yeah, you know what? If you guys, if you don't want to set up a fake dating profile just to see what your competition's like, just ask the chicks that you go on dates with, like if you can see their dating app. All right. Like you don't have to look at their messages or anything, but just say, hey, let me see the guys that I'm competing against out here. And the chicks, a lot of them will show you. They'll be like, oh yeah, look at this guy. Look at this guy. Right. That's all you have to do. And then you go, oh fuck, Paul's right. Paul's right. RP Mayan says, yes, I've seen a difference, but everything in me changed, not just my legs. So that's good. You want to be the whole package, right? Brother Will's in the house. Good morning, brother. And he says type A personalities. Let's see. They focus on the why, not on the outcome. Negative self-talk also ruins chances. Dude, guys, since I've been coaching men, negative self-talk is one of the hardest things for men to stop doing. Right? Men are so hard on themselves. They are so hard on themselves and they say nasty shit about themselves. Like I'm a loser and I fuck up and I suck at this and whatever. And all that kind of stuff goes right into your subconscious mind and you start believing it. And when you start believing it, you start carrying yourself that way. So start using positive self-talk. Start talking about how fucking awesome you are. Right? How great you are at stuff. And when you aren't great at stuff, talk about how you're getting it or you will get it, right? Like I'm learning this. I'm getting better every day. Like say positive shit to yourself for love of God, guys. All right. Where are we at here? Let's talk about game versus looks. My man here says, right? Everything about me changed, not just looks. Okay. So looks are nice, right? They'll get your foot in the door. Okay. But if you're trying to compare yourself to fucking Chris Hemsworth, right? Or Jason Momoa, but if you look around your local area, if everyone looks like Chris Hemsworth and Jason Momoa, then yeah, yeah, you got some work to do. Okay. Because, yeah, a lot of the guys out there are good looking, right? If you live in a place like LA, if you live in a place like Las Vegas, if you live in a place like San Diego or Miami, where people like it's hot out, people want to have those beach bods. Yeah, you gotta put some work in. Okay. But if you live out where most people are, okay, most people are in flyover country, right? Like we have a huge country that we live in. And a lot of us live out in flyover country. Most people in flyover country don't look like Brad Pitt. They don't look like fucking Jason Momoa. They don't look like Chris Hemsworth. All right. Most guys in your area are fat and overweight. All right. So just not being fat. I put out a TikTok yesterday about going on a bike ride. Okay. Like a lot of guys are like, man, I just don't want to go to the gym. Like, Red Pill really harps on going to the gym and lifting heavy. And I just don't want to do that. I don't like doing that. You don't have to. Okay. Do something you love to do, but do something physical, get some exercise, do something daily. And I used to go running, but my knees are all jacked up now from it. So but I'm not quitting. Right. I'm like, I just need to adapt to my knees. And so I have a bike. I was like, why don't I get my bike, back in shape, get a new seat for it, get some new tires on it, get some new tubes, get some tube liners. Cause we have a lot of goat heads around here. And I'm just going to go for a bike ride every day. And so I've been doing that. I've been doing that for over a month now, going for a bike ride daily. I do almost 10 miles, a little over 9.5 miles every day on the bike. That's all you got to do. Right. And then, if you don't want to be skinny fat, just do some calisthenics, right? Do some push-ups, some sit-ups. You don't have to go to the gym. You don't even have to have a gym membership, right? A lot of you guys are like, oh, I can't afford a gym membership right now. Like, well, Planet Fitness is $10 a month, right? You can't afford $10 a month. You got other problems, but you don't need it. Okay. You can do calisthenics at home and go ride a bike or something. Go for a walk. Okay. Just go for a fucking walk. Right. But that's important. But more important than your looks is game. Okay. Out of money, muscles, game, and frame, the core four, when it comes to women, I would say game and frame are more important than muscles. Okay. Game and frame, then muscles, and then money's for you. It's not even for the women. Okay. Money's for you. And if you stop leading with your wallet, you'll stop attracting gold diggers and women that only want you for your money. A lot of these losers out here are like, women only care about guys who have money. That's not true. That's fucking not true. Women are banging dudes, in single wide trailers all the fucking time. Okay. It's not about the money. It's not about the money. But those guys in the single wide trailers, they're dealing a lot of drugs. They probably make a lot of money. No, it's just they're bad boys, right? They're bad boys with a throat tattoo. They make these girls feel excited. They make these girls feel something. And that's what alpha traits really are, right? They make a woman's, like they spike a woman's dopamine receptors, right? They make her feel exciting and fun and they want to bang your brains out. Okay. So you don't need to be Brad Pitt. You just need some game, some frame, confidence. You need to have some purpose in life. Okay. You don't necessarily have to look like Brad Pitt, but I also recommend you don't be fat either. Okay. A lot of these guys too, they're frustrated because they don't spin plates. They don't keep their options open. Okay. Having that abundance mindset with women, makes you not so needy, not so like, I need this woman in my life and I need to, keep access to this vagina happy at all times so that I don't lose access to that vagina. Right. Once you date multiple women, you realize how easy it is and how women are actually more attracted to guys that have abundance with women. The more you realize how easy it is to get women and you're not so preoccupied with trying to make this one woman happy. Right. And what you'll find is that the cream rises to the top. The women that want to make you happy make themselves known. Okay. Women that are into you make things easy for you. They don't do a lot of game playing. They want to be around you all the fucking time. Right. They don't leave you questioning. Like if you have a girl that you're like, oh, she's giving me mixed signals or whatever, that tells you everything you need to know right there. She's just not that into you. Actions never lie. This is why we always say, like, don't pay attention to what women say. Always watch what they do, because their actions will never lie. Okay. And any guy that ever says, oh, this I'm tired of the mixed messages, and my wife said this, but then she did this, and I'm so mad because the mixed messages, is like, well, your biggest mistake was listening to what she said in the first place. Just stop. Just watch what she does. If she says something, okay, just in one ear and out the other, pay attention to what she does. Okay. Now, if her words line up with her actions, that's great. That's even better. Okay. But her actions will never lie. A woman who's into you, it will be obvious. Okay. But most of you guys aren't spinning plates, aren't allowing you to keep your options open up long enough to find these women. Okay. But when you do, it'll change your entire fucking, trajectory in life when you start realizing that kind of stuff. But a lot of you guys are frustrated because you have that sniper dating mentality. You go all in on one girl, and when she's not showing you interest, you fucking are like, oh, well, I just wasted weeks and months chasing this one girl. It's like, well, stop doing that. Okay. Let's say you get a date. Let's say you get a date lined up with this girl. Keep sourcing new women. Always be sourcing, right? Until you get enough girls in your rotation that, that you can handle it. Okay. I would say when I was out spinning plates, I found that juggling more than 3 or 4 women was too much. Okay. It was too expensive. It would took too much of my time. It took me away from my purpose. And so, like, 3 was the best. It was the best. Just have a rotation of 3 women. Okay. But some guys are out there dating tons of women, right? Like, whatever is that you can handle, do that, but don't just go all in on one girl. Okay. Let that cream rise to the top. You're going to have plates fall off, and you got to let them go. Okay. Women that you're not trying to be exclusive with, let them go. Okay. They'll come and go. You'll get another woman. Always be sourcing new women, right? Just keep this thing going until the women who really want to be around you start showing themselves, and it'll be fucking obvious. You'll be like, what planet did I land on where this chick is doing all this stuff? Okay. That's how Nurse Chick is. Nurse Chick was like, I'm in it to win it. I'm in it to fucking win it. Okay. By the way, if you guys need help with this stuff, you want to swap notes with other like-minded guys, stop talking to your frustrated chump friends and stuff like that, and talk to guys that are studying this stuff, that are getting better at this stuff, that are out there practicing stuff. Get in the wolf pack, okay? Go to wolf.comeonmanpod.com and run with the wolves, brother.
Bear Club? Not anymore.
Home, midlife drift, feeling alone. You don't need hacks, blogs, lies. You need men with fire in their eyes. We rebuild from the ground up. No excuses, no soft stuff. Telegram lit 24/7. Brothers locked in steel, not heaven. Step inside the pack. We don't fall, we attack. Truth, fire, presence, we bring it back. Masculine pride, no time to slack. Step inside the pack. Drop your past, claim your track. No therapy talk, no playing small. We sharpen blades, we take it all.
Yeah, and Modern Man makes a good point here. He goes, abundance mindset doesn't even mean spin plates all the time. It's the knowledge that you can find another woman. And this is really helpful for you guys that are in long-term relationships or even married. Okay. Having that abundance mindset needs to carry over into your long-term relationship. Otherwise, you're going to put your wife or your girlfriend on a pedestal, and she's going to lose attraction for you. And that's where a lot of guys end up in dead bedrooms and stuff like that. But just knowing, like, hey, I'm not going to tolerate your shit. I can get another woman, right? And being out there and being fun and flirty and letting your wife see that you're still a guy that's attractive to women and stuff like that. Like, that does more for you than putting her on a pedestal and squashing any kind of tension in the relationship. Okay. And then Miles says 3 is a magic number. Yeah, it is. 3 is a magic. Oh, we're talking about spinning plates. Where it's also a magic number is guys self-sabotage themselves out here in the dating circuit. Okay. There's a lot of guys on this average frustrated chump social convention, like waiting for a quality woman. This is why a lot of guys are like, oh, if she makes me wait, if I go out on a date with a girl and she doesn't put out and she makes me wait months or until we're exclusive or until we're married to have sex, she must be a quality woman. She must be wifey material. She must be a good girl. It's not true. It is fucking not true. All right. And that's Madonna whore complex in effect. What is the Madonna whore complex for you guys that don't know? Madonna whore complex is a lot of guys are afflicted with this, but it's the idea that a girl who is wild in the sack, that's a little bit slutty, that likes to do all the things that you like, right? She's a snooty snoot. She belongs to the street. She's only good for fun and spinning plates. But a woman that makes you wait, that's not going to put out so easily, well, she's a good girl. She's wifey material. And the thing is that they're the same woman. They're the same woman. It just depends on the guy, right? It's like how you hear women say all the time, like, I'll be submissive for the right man. Okay. Well, for the right man, women break their rules. They have rules and they make rules for the beta guys and they break them for alpha guys, right? And you could say that they make rules for guys that they're not sexually attracted to, and they break rules for guys that they are sexually attracted to. Okay. And so we like to implement the Jason Momoa rule or the Brad Pitt rule, whatever you want to call it. Okay. If a girl is making you wait for sex, you got to ask yourself, would she make Chris Hemsworth wait? Probably not. She would fuck the shit out of Chris Hemsworth. Okay. So she's just not that into you. All right. And so going back to the number 3 as a magical number, it's very handy to have a 3-date rule. Okay, because not every girl is going to be into you. I don't care how fucking Giga Chat Alpha you are. Not every girl is going to be into you. And so when you go out dating, I'm not trying to close. I'm not trying to get sex on the first date. For me, typically my strategy is first dates or chemistry tests, like to see if I even like her or not. Keep it low investment, drinks only. If I like her, I'll take her to another venue, which will speed up the seduction process. That's a whole other topic for another episode. But by then I'm usually able to close by the second or third date, and women will put out by the second or third date on average. So overly trying to close on a first date is not necessary. A lot of guys like doing that, whatever, to each their own. Okay. But if she's not having sex with you, if you know that a vast majority of women will have sex with you by the second or third date on average, that means that a girl that's making you wait and you haven't been able to close the deal by the third date, she's wasting your time. Okay. She's just not that into you. She's not a good girl, wifey material. She's just not that into you, because another guy that she is totally interested in, she's going to let hit in the Waffle House parking lot on the first date. Okay. So, but a lot of AFCs believe this blue pill idea that a woman who's holding out for sex is somehow a good girl. And that's just not true. One of Rollo's iron rules even says that a woman who makes you wait, the sex is never worth the wait. You know, I'm paraphrasing. That's not an exact phrase, because, you know, Rollo's got his minions and they'll be like, that's not the exact fucking like, I know I'm paraphrasing here. Okay. The Me Too movement has also impacted a lot of guys out in the dating circuit. Okay. Men are too scared to flirt. They're too scared to approach women, which defaults into passivity or inceldom, right? Like, that's why a lot of guys are self-proclaimed incels, because they're so afraid of catching a rap or, you know, whatever, you know, having a woman. I've had guys say, I can't go up and approach a girl. I'm going to get arrested. And I'm like, fucking, where do you live? Right. And I do think in certain European states that they have made rules like that if a girl feels uncomfortable for you approaching her, that she can call the cops or something, which is ridiculous in my opinion. In America, that's not a thing. Okay. That's not a thing. If you're a self-proclaimed incel in America and you're afraid of a girl calling the cops on just for walking up and talking to her, you're not going to get arrested. Okay. Now a cop might come over, if she feels unsafe or something and tell you to leave. Okay. But you're not going to get arrested. You're not doing anything illegal. All right. But the Me Too movement impacted me. This is one of the reasons why I floundered on the dating circuit after my divorce, after having been out of practice in 15 years, because shit like the Me Too movement, I was waiting for a written invitation, right? You got to have girls' consent now. And so I was afraid of being bold and going in for a kiss. Whereas where I was in high school, like when I met my now ex-wife, I just went in for the kiss. Right. All the chicks I banged in high school, I just went in for a kiss. I didn't wait for permission. I just fucking did it. Right. And so I got this all in my head, which really made me struggle on the dating circuit because I wasn't making a move. And women are very passive by nature. They're waiting for men to make the move. Okay. Boy game is this. Let's talk about cold approach, right? Boy game is walking around, seeing a girl you like and being bold and walking up and striking up a conversation and then asking for a number, right? That's guy game. That's, if you're good at that, a lot of guys are afraid to do that. But if you're good at that, you're going to get a lot of numbers, right? Especially law of averages. You do that to a lot of women, you're going to get a lot of numbers. Girl game is this. They see a guy they like, they make eye contact. Okay. And then they try to keep eye contact and then they hope that you come over and talk to them. That's girl game. Or let's say you're at the supermarket, a girl that wants you to talk to them will just sort of walk around and sort of put themselves in the same aisle as you, hoping that you strike up a conversation. Okay. That's girl game. They put themselves in your orbit, hoping you make a move. That's girl game. And most guys are too afraid of that shit because of this Me Too movement. And the thing is, the Me Too movement, the women would rather be with a bear, all that kind of shit. They do that on purpose to weed out losers. Okay. Because they know that losers are going to buy into this shit and they're going to follow that to the T. And now they don't even have to worry about you. Now the guys that are bold will show themselves. Okay. It's female sexual strategy. And a lot of you losers are falling for it. Okay. By the way, I just did a custom video for a guy yesterday. He was having problems in his marriage. If you have problems with dating, problems with relationships, you don't really want to go for the full coaching, but you do have a question you want me to answer, sponsor a video. Okay. Go to video.comeonmanpod.com for that. Let's talk about red pill awareness. Because a lot of guys, they'll gravitate to this content. They'll gravitate to the negative red pill content that's not really helpful. And they'll learn about stuff like hypergamy and female nature, and they will hate women for it. Okay. But the red pill was never about that. Red pill has always been about men's sexual strategy and a positive male identity. Okay. Or positive masculine identity. And so what you realize is that when you learn this stuff, you can actually use it to your advantage. You don't have to get mad at women for being women. Okay. It's kind of dumb to get mad at women for being women. They're wired a certain way. That's just how they are. So real red pill guys accept them for what they are and they don't hate them for what they're not. Okay. And so once you develop this red pill awareness, now you can see how the game is played and use it to your advantage. It's a lot like my man Archwinger says, it's a lot like counting cards. Okay. It gives you that edge in the marketplace, which gives you an advantage. It gives you a strategic advantage to understand how the female mind works, how attraction works, how evolutionary psychology works, and then implement it. Okay. And the thing is that game is the great equalizer. Game is kind of like, it's kind of like the Sam Colt made men equal, right? Sam Colt made men equal. Game is the great equalizer. Okay. In a world of betas, even basic red pill principles vault you into higher up the level, right? So if you are just not fat, you're already in the top 25% of guys. And then if you learn game and frame, that automatically puts you in the top 5 to 10% of men. Okay. You don't have to be Brad Pitt. In fact, you see a lot of these Hollywood actors that look good and stuff like that. They can't keep women around. Look at Tom Brady. Okay. This is where you get the MGTOW guys. Well, if Tom Brady couldn't keep Giselle, well then, what chance do I have? Well, that's because Tom Brady is really good at football and he's in really good shape. He's a very handsome dude, but he probably has no fucking game and frame. you know? He's able to attract women by his looks, but he can't keep them around because he doesn't have game and frame. So who did Giselle cheat on him with? A fucking Brazilian jiu-jitsu instructor. Right? So if you learn that game and frame, that will level the playing field for a lot of you guys out there. And then just not being fat will really put you at a level where you're going to wonder what fucking planet you landed on. Okay. Because it's going to be like shooting fish in a barrel. By the way, guys, if you want to work with me one-on-one, you can go to call.fixdeadbedrooms.com for that. So and I've been talking about this whole time, but we'll wrap up with this. Dating has never been easier. It's never been easier. Okay. Once you reject blue pill conditioning, you reject the average frustrated chump script, and you get rid of the myth of the 3 6s and all that kind of shit. And you realize competition is fucking weak out there. Okay. Now, people give me shit all the time because I'm bald, I'm old, and all this kind of stuff, but I did great on the dating circuit. And if I could fucking do it, all right, anybody can fucking do it. All right. And I get people saying nasty shit about me all the time online. There's plenty of women that don't, at first glance, don't find me attractive. Whatever. I don't give a fuck. Okay. I don't care because I know what the game's like. I've had plenty of success on the dating circuit. And if I can do it, you can fucking do it, bro. If I can do it, you can fucking do it. All right. Never been easier. All right. I hope you guys found value in this episode, but that's all I got. Tune into the podcast on Friday. We're going to talk about why being an asshole gets you laid. Now, you don't really have to be an asshole, but you can't let people, especially women, walk all over you. Okay. So being assertive might come across like being an asshole to some people, especially when you've never done it before. But it's paramount to learn if you're going to level up and get better with women. Okay. And it's Frame Friday. We're going to talk about that from a frame perspective. I hope you guys enjoy it. Other than that, that's all we got. Do be sure to like, subscribe, hit those notifications. I have new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We'll see you on Friday.
This has been the Come On Man podcast. Now, go out and get it.